camera got fucked up. There we go. Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237. Coming at you with another review. And I figured I'm still waiting for stuff to come in. Not really setting up any marathons just yet. So why not continue the Frankenstein films from our previous reviews. So now I'm going to 1942 with the Ghost of Frankenstein. Covers on the tablet, because again, it is part of the Legacy Collection, the 30-pack Classic Monsters set. This is the fourth film in the Universal Frankenstein series, and it came out in 1942, so 3 years after Son. And this is the first one to not feature the great Boris Karloff as the monster. And you can really see that in this film. I mean, it's not that this is a bad movie. It's not. But it is lacking a lot of stuff that would have made it great had Karloff been in it. But the cast is very interesting because, you know, this time as the monster you have Lon Chaney Jr., who the year before he was in The Wolfman as the Wolfman. So he sort of had the same, at this time he had the same success Karloff had 10 years before. He was the next Lon Chaney Sr. He was getting all the makeup roles, you know, he was the next Man of a Thousand Faces. So he's the monster. Bela Lugosi returns as Ygor, but his performance is kind of turned down. Lionel Atwill is in it as Dr. Theodore Boehmer. Sir Cedric Hardwicke plays both Ludwig Frankenstein, son of Wolf, second son of Henry Frankenstein. He also plays the image of Henry Frankenstein as like a hallucination, which is really unfortunate that it wasn't, because Colin Clive passed away 5 years before from tuberculosis complications because he was a hardcore alcoholic, and that really, really sucks. Also, you have Evelyn Ankers, who is the wife of Ludwig Frankenstein, also named Elsa, like the daughter, was it? No, just like Elsa and Son, who of course is named after Elsa Lanchester from Bride of Frankenstein. Evelyn Ankers was also the love interest of Larry Talbot, played by Lon Chaney Jr. in The Wolfman. Also, and this really sucks, Dwight Frye is uncredited as a villager in the beginning. Dwight Frye is one of the greatest... Freaking camera. Dwight Frye is one of the greatest character actors ever. Fritz in the original Frankenstein, Renfield in Dracula especially. He has a tiny, tiny little appearance in this, and it really sucks. He doesn't suck, just the fact that he doesn't get to do shit sucks. So yeah, you sort of have this whole... Oh, and Lionel Atwill was also in the previous film's Son. So yeah, the cast is definitely interesting and recycled. It's very short. It's just over an hour, which, looking at the previous films, it shows, like, you know, I don't think they had a lot to work with. I think they just wanted to continue it because, well, in my opinion, because now they had Lon Chaney Jr., they wanted to do some different stuff. This is also the final solo Frankenstein film, Because after this, you know, you have Meets the Wolfman, you have House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, then Abbott Costello. So everything else is like a monster mash kind of film. Which in the next film, he's played by Glenn Strange. And it's pretty much called Ghost because the part where the apparition of Henry speaking to Ludwig sort of brings on the main events of the film. Now, the main story is sometime after sun, the villagers want to destroy the castle. They think the castle of Frankenstein still has bad omen with it. It's sort of plague on the village. They want to get rid of it. They're granted the chance to destroy it, but when they get there, Ygor is still alive. Somehow, it doesn't explain how he survived being shot. He tries to fight them off with rocks, but of course they destroy it. And it unearths this massive sulfur that the monster is encased in, and it somehow preserved him, and he's still alive. Ygor helps him, but the monster is struck by lightning, which makes him stronger. And this is also why you shouldn't really have multiple writers on different films in the same series, because in order of events, lightning brought the monster to life, then it's said in Sun that lightning put him in a coma, and now lightning is making him strong again. But basically, you know, he freaks out on Ygor. They make it over to this other village where Ludwig lives. And the monster meets this young girl. I think it's supposed to sort of shadow the events of the original of the girl at the lake. It just doesn't have that magic that scene had, the emotion that scene had. She takes the monster, you know, cute little girl, takes the monster by the hand. He picks her up. She asks if he can get her ball on a string that's up on a roof. He carries her up there. Townspeople see. They think he's going to kill her. He listens to her. She says, "Can you bring me down to my daddy? They say they won't hurt you." He brings her down, hands her over, but of course they beat him and they arrest him. And the whole thing of the film is then they have like this trial. The monster is given to Ludwig Frankenstein and this other doctor. The courthouse scene, though, I mean, the little girl walks up to him. He's chained to the bench, and she kind of puts her hand on his, and he doesn't, like, Lon Chaney doesn't really emote very well. I don't know if it's just the makeup, he didn't know how to play the character, it's the direction he was given by Erle C. Kenton. But he doesn't really emote. He doesn't emote until Ludwig Frankenstein comes in. He kind of tries to and say, hey, he recognizes you, and he's like, I've never seen him. This angers him, and he breaks the chains, and basically they want Frankenstein to work on the monster, and at first he says no. The first Frankenstein in the series to say, I want nothing to do with this. My father and my brother had their shit with this. I don't want to deal with it. But then, you know, the apparition of Henry saying, you know, I was actually doing two things at once during that part. Basically, the monster does end up killing his assistant. Give me a second. I kind of forgot what Henry said, the ghost of Henry said to him. Anyway, basically, they were going to dismantle the monster. But Ygor has the idea he just needs a new brain. Oh, that's what Frankenstein told him. He has an abnormal brain. You put a new one in, you can correct the problem. Ygor has the idea to put his own brain in the monster. Which, of course, they say, no, you're a slick criminal. But Ygor thinks with his mind and the body of a powerful giant, he'd be able to take over the world. For the monster, however, he breaks free. He goes to the home of the little girl. The little girl, he kidnaps her, but I do like the part he picks her up. He's about to leave, and he kind of backs up. He walks over to this table where the ball on the string is, and he picks it up and he carries it with him. And, Lon Chaney doesn't even grunt or make a noise or anything. The only time, he's the one that kind of started this whole thing. But, when he sees the doctors, he looks at the girl, he, touches her head, and then he touches his head, showing he wants her brain. Because she's the only one that's been nice to him. The innocence of a child prevails. But, of course, by the end, things happen. Ygor does get his brain put in. And it is kind of creepy how they still have Bela Lugosi's voice coming out of the monster. It kind of doesn't line up right because, of course, I don't think Lon Chaney is really still moving his mouth very much. But their blood types don't mix up, Ygor's and the monsters, and it causes him to go blind. And that's when, and he's even, the monster attacks out of rage and mortally wounds Frankenstein. He throws the other doctor onto this electrical equipment. But he gets trapped in this burning thing, which obviously he's going to be in the next one, while the characters walk into the sunset. Eric and Elsa. Or the sunrise, rather. Now, the thing about this movie is it's not bad. It's not a bad movie. I do enjoy it. It did feel weird not seeing Karloff play the monster. Even though I know with how many movies the monster is in, even in the original series, Karloff is only in the first 3. So there's more films without him than with. But he just did such a good job, and he is the reason why those movies are so great. The scene in the courtroom, the scene with the girl and the ball out in the street, the scene with the girl in the courtroom, or when he sees Frankenstein in the courtroom. You could have had a lot of scenes, really powerful, emotional scenes from Karloff. That would have been great. Could have had Dwight Frye actually do something, because he is a fantastic actor. I actually think he died shortly after this. I could be wrong on that. But, just when I watch this, I see the very wooden, blank, emotionless performance that Lon Chaney gave. It's not to say Chaney's a bad actor. He's phenomenal as the Wolfman. That's his monster. He also played the mummy that everyone knows, not the Hemotep Boris Karloff mummy, but Karis, the one with the sheets that walks like that, strangles people. Even though I do see this movie's strengths, it's still a very good-looking film. It's still an entertaining film, and I just look at everything, and I just think of what could have been. And not to say Karloff would have done all that stuff, because even in Sun, his role was very downplayed. But even, you know, a Lugosi, he's not as creepy. He doesn't seem as sinister. Even his walk, like, he's not like this as much. So, you know, it also feels like they're going towards the camp. You know, it's 1942. They're already pushing that way towards the campy fun era, which they're getting into the Meats films. You know, Meets the Wolfman. They're getting into like the novelty Monster Mash films. And, you know, I guess this was a good transition from that, because the Karloff films are very serious. But, you know, Chaney, I do think, and for whatever reason why he didn't really act the monster, I do think that would have helped, because I didn't really like the look. Karloff has a certain look when he's in this makeup, and here it just looks really different. I think if he had just thrown in a little bit of acting, it would have balanced it out, and it would have made it much better. But, you know, it is what it is. It still had a great cast. I mean, Chaney Jr., Lugosi, Hardwicke, Atwill, Ankers, the tiny little scene with the Dwight Fry. There was a little montage of archive footage from the first one of Henry and Fritz digging up the body and doing the whole process. It really made me miss the older films, because Bride is my favorite, actually. So yeah, I see why Son is considered the last sort of real Frankenstein film. Like, before they went into the campy, more fun 40s territory. But this one still has its merits. And I mean, this one, I mean, you get the villagers tearing down a castle in the beginning of the film. So while the performances and the horrors kind of downplayed, there is plenty of action, plenty of, you know, lively stuff going on. So it is balanced out, and it is good, just in different areas than why I like the first ones more. But anyway, that is 1942's The Ghost of Frankenstein. And coming up next is Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. Thank you for watching.